You're live on DBC News. It's time for news. Hello, good afternoon. I'm Siyoko Kwakucha. Welcome to the news. The Supreme Court says its restraints of James Gyakye as Asin North MP was to protect the Constitution and the sovereign will of Ghanaians without subverting it. The court maintains that it will be failing in its duty to Ghanaians if it does grant the injunction against the Asin North MP. The court, in a 5-2 majority decision on Wednesday, restrained James Gyakye from carrying himself out as the Member of Parliament while directing the parties to file their memorandum of issues by April 25. The majority decision held by Justices Jones Doche, Mariam Owusu, Gertrude Tokonu, Professor Henrietta Mensah-Bonsu, and Emmanuel Yonikolende reasoned that the people of Asin North and Ghanaians as a whole would suffer greater hardship and irreparable damage and inconvenience if Mr. Kwesi had not been restrained. Dissenting from the majority decision, however, Justices Agnes Doji and Nene Amegache reasoned that Michael and Kuma Nimfa should have sought an enforcement of the High Court judgment against James Gyakye and institute contempt proceedings against him in the High Court rather than appearing before the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has, in a majority 5-2 decision, ruled that Asin North MP Mr. James Gyakye can no longer perform parliamentary duties. This is until the determination of the substantive case filed against him at the Supreme Court. A Cape Coast High Court in July 2021 nullified the election of Mr. Kwesi after it found he owed allegiance to Canada when filing his nomination forms to contest the polls. This decision was taken in a petition brought before the Supreme Court by Michael Ankoma Nimfa, a resident of Asin Breku in the Central Region. On the phone lines is a private legal practitioner, Mr. and Tiedu, to help us understand the Supreme Court verdict. Hello, good afternoon, sir, and thank you so much for joining us on News Hour.
Good afternoon and you're welcome.
So if the Asin North MP can no longer perform parliamentary duties, does it mean his seat has been declared vacant?
No, please. This is a ruling on application that was put by the applicant plaintiff in this matter. You know, this case is separate and distinct from the appeal and then at the Court of Appeal. So let's focus on the Supreme Court suit. The substantive suit is for the interpretation of Article 94 2A. And as part of the suit, the plaintiff added an application for injunction to restrain the honorable member for continuing to hold himself out as a member of parliament and participating in parliamentary proceedings. Okay, so it is the ruling on the application for injunction that has come. So more or less is an interim, or you can say in ordinary parlance, maybe suspension. So he has just been asked to, stand aside for the time being until the final determination of the substantive suit, which is on the interpretation of Article 94 2A to the effect that he is, let's say, unfit to hold the position of a member of parliament, or he is fit to hold that position. So now the seat is not vacant. He has just been asked to stand aside while the court continues to hear the matter. In your recap, I heard you even talk about the court requesting the parties to submit some written documents to guide the process.
So can we talk about the substantive case? So can the determination of the substantive case filed against Mr. Quayson challenging his eligibility to hold the office be influenced if he is allowed to continue to perform parliamentary duties?
Not at all. Not in my reasoning. There's no way he's continuing performance of parliamentary duties in the case. You know, when it comes to public officers who are going through some proceedings, that one, because of the possibility of and some issues, that's why they are always asked to stand aside by way of interdiction. But this one was no way it could extend. But the plaintiff Africans was of the view that there is the previous judgment that has more or less declared courtesy of that seat. So the honorable member is, let's say, illegally holding himself out or not respecting the judgment of the High Court. And so it was on that basis. And then they said that, yes, as you read, majority took the view that, yes, the balance of convenience tilts in his favor. And because it has even a wider implication on the whole of the people of Ghana. But that is what I disagree, because as part of the court actually lists the three requirements for consideration for injunctions. And the first one is that the applicant should demonstrate that he has a triable case. There's a good case, the case is not frivolous. Okay, and then the second important one is on balance of convenience. We have to weigh. Remember that this one, the substantive matter is before court, and the one party is asking for a step to be taken before the final determination. So this one, the court will weigh that if the matter, the final matter is determined and goes in one's party's favor, how would the situation be? Who will suffer? So, for example, if I have to illustrate by case of this, then let's say you pick Honorable Quayson on one side. If you ask him to stand aside and not perform parliamentary duties, would he suffer more damage or injury than denying the applicant, who is saying that he has a judgment against the honorable member and he's still holding himself? The court, undertakes some reasoning and analysis of the harm that may be caused. Okay, and then the court, the majority agree that yes, the injury will go more against the applicant, so they ruled in that favor. But I disagree. If you read the dissenting opinion of His Lordship Justice Nene Amegache, he also did analysis of the balance of opinions. And clearly, it tilted towards the side of the honorable member, because the temporary injunction now restrains him from performing and representing the constitution and creates a temporary gap, which means that if Parliament now sits to take any decision, he will be unable to participate in that process. And so if the final decision goes in his favor, then there's no way that the opportunity that he has lost can be recovered. So there will be irreparable damage to him. And then you extend it to the constituents who need representation. Okay, so but if you ask yourself about what injury will be caused to other party, the applicant here, Mr. Nimfa, I don't think that the injury there will be more than what I have described.
So in your earlier submission, explaining what the meaning of the ruling was, you said he's just been asked to step aside. So what if he resigns from Parliament? Will the matter be put to rest?
No, it depends. You know, he is not the one who has sent the matter to court. The plaintiff who is requesting for something to be done is the one in court. And so if he resigns, and then the plaintiff still wants a declaration to be made, he may still go ahead. Yeah, so that may not terminate automatically. If he was the one who initiated the process, and then he says that, yes, I want to just stop everything, that could have been the case.
So can he appeal the ruling?
So here, this is the ruling. The Supreme Court is the final court. So we go for a review. So he can actually go for a review of the ruling, the injunction. Yes, that the court should take a second look at it, particularly in respect of the assessment of opinion, which, as the dissenting opinion of His Lordship Nonamegata indicated, the balance of convenience tilts in his favor, and that he should have the application have been declined.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Benjamin Tedu is a private legal practitioner. Thank you so much for the insight. Following the Supreme Court's injunction on the Asin North Member of Parliament, Mr. Jachi Hueson, a member of the NDC legal team, Mr. Eduji Tamaklo, has expressed worry over the issue. Speaking on GTV Breakfast, Mr. Tamaklo said though Mr. Hueson has a certificate of denunciation per the Supreme Court's restriction, he ceases to be MP for Asin North.
If you read the decision of the majority, what is clear from that ruling is that they were seeking to enforce a high court judgment that has been obtained against the MP. And I find it very strange. Look, if you look at our constitutional jurisprudence, constitutional office holders are hardly injuncted. We do not know when the Supreme Court will put final determination to the substantive matter. So, if it has to take 2 months, 3 months, it means that the people of Asin North will not have representation. I mean, how is this? There's always an opportunity for review. A decision has to be taken, and then that will be communicated. His confidence in the judicial arm of government. He feels that the fight is bigger.
Following the passage of the bill into Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA is to educate Ghanaians on the implementation of the law and transactions that are to attract e-levy. On GTV Breakfast, a member of the e-levy committee of the GRA, Mr. Isaac Amwaku, spoke about such transactions, but also mentioned that taxes, fees and payments made on the Ghana Govs system or any other government designated payment systems do not require any deductions.
The Act makes provision for which transactions or which transfers are covered when you make them. The first one that is covered is that if you are making mobile money transfer to another mobile money transfer but on the same network. So an example being an MTN to MTN, Vodafone, Tigo to Airtel Tigo to Airtel Tigo, you have to pay this charge. That's the first cover. The next cover is that you are making Momo transfer or mobile money transfer but to another network other than the network that you belong to. That also is within scope. The third one is that you're moving or transferring funds from a bank account to a mobile money account or wallet. That also comes within the scope of the law. The Ghana Revenue is using a platform called Ghana.gov platform. It was provided by the government. And it is not only the Ghana Revenue Authority that uses that platform. Other government agencies are using that same platform. So far as your payment to government is through that platform, you are not imposed an additional e-levy to pay.
The government says every BEC candidate will be enrolled in the free SHS policy while it phases out the double track system. The Deputy Minister for Education, Reverend John Intim Fodjo, announced this on an unannounced visit to the St. John Grammar Senior High School at Amasaman on Tuesday to observe the admission process.
At about 1 p.m., the Deputy Minister for Education, Reverend John Ntim Fodjo, and his team were conducted round by the headmaster of the school, Dr. Edmond Fiano, while the Form 1 students were being assisted to enroll by the school's management. The Deputy Minister said government will provide a conducive environment for students.
We thank the head of school, Dr. Edmond Fiano, and the assistant heads for the work they are doing, the dedication, the alacrity with which they receive new students, help them through the enrollment, and even for those who have challenges, they receive them. That is exactly the picture that is happening in all our SHS and TVET institutions across the country. The investment into infrastructure has made it possible for double entry to be done away with. So in this particular academic year, you are not going to find Form 1s having double intake in a particular school. They are all going to come the same period. They are all going to vacate the same period.
Reverend Ntim Fodjo toured the school's infrastructure, including the newly built girls' dormitory block. A team was also at the dining hall and the stores. At the time, 1,150 students had gone through the enrollment process at the school. Reverend Ntim Fodjo said every child will have a comfortable sleeping place for effective learning. Government has since 2017 initiated 1,132 education-related projects for secondary institutions across the country and has completed 734, with some nearing completion.
The Northern Regional Police Command has deployed personnel to the Zakhole, a header community in the Yendi municipality of the Northern Region, following reprisal attacks that killed at least 8 herdsmen. The attack follows the killing of a teacher of Dagman State Senior High School, Mr. Jacob Hoyla, in a suspected armed robbery attack at Zagman on the Yendi Zabzugu Road on Wednesday. Angered by the killing of the teacher, some locals mobilized themselves and went on a rampage, killing at least 8 herdsmen. GBC News Northern Regional Correspondent Mutala Issa joins us for an update. Good afternoon, Mutala. Thank you so much for joining us on News Hour. Well, this is not a good news coming. So we understand the death toll has risen to 9. Can you confirm that?
So information we are gathering indicates that yes, the death toll has risen to 9. But a source within the police is also telling me that they are counting the numbers, including the person who was killed yesterday in the morning. So we had 8 headers being killed, plus the person who was killed earlier in the morning that triggered this suspected reprisal attack. So we have 9 people dying through this disturbance yesterday.
So have there been any arrests yet?
As we speak, we have not received any report of arrest. What we also know is that the police, the Yendi Municipal Security Council are all appealing to residents in the vicinity to help with identifying the perpetrators and bringing them to book.
Before you go, can you tell us the security situation in the community?
There's calm across the communities. What we are also gathering from the police is that they have extended security to herdsmen who are scattered across the municipality. They usually don't leave because of their occupation. They don't leave within town. You will travel 20, 30 kilometers and find just one family of about 6, 7, husband, wife, and children. So they are in very vulnerable situations. But as we speak, the police say that they are providing them with security across that enclave. And so there's some calm in the area.
Very much, Mutala Issa. And Mutala is our correspondent for the Northern Region. At the first meeting of the GBC board, the Minister for Information, Mr. Kojo Nkrumah, tabled a number of issues requiring urgent attention. Of priority include issues of long service awards, legal representation, and sporting rights. The minister mentioned the government will assist the state broadcaster to restate its identity through restructuring.
Being the first meeting of the 10-member board, the Minister for Information, Mr. Kojo Ponkuma, encouraged members to be up to the task of finding lasting solutions to GBC's many difficulties.
There is the regular challenge of funding sporting rights, and often what we do is that we send a bill to government to pay, and there are these arrangements where sometimes you find the private sector taking the signal from GBC, sometimes not paying, sometimes paying in half, and all of that. We need to have an institutional solution to the question of sporting rights. What is the role of GBC in the digital migration policy? How do we circle around that conversation and ensure that there's best value for the state and competencies are also brought to bear on it? Accommodation is a problem for a lot of staff, and it is a good time for that kind of conversation to go on so that GBC's interests in this accommodation resolution program can be catered for.
He also said GBC needs a robust legal representation to avoid judgment debts. GBC owes about 40 million cedis in long service awards. He called for a middle ground solution, especially when GBC's internally generated fund cannot be used to pay. The chairman of the National Media Commission, Mr. Yalbuedu Ayebuafo, called for reforms in employee management with emphasis on professionalism.
The moment that they hear reform, they only understand it one way: redeployment. You know, the last time we explained to the staff that it does not mean redeployment, because there are some organizations that have reformed and they have recruited many more people than they originally had. Where people allow themselves to be trained, they can be deployed in other areas, and the horizon is bigger than they can ever imagine.
While commending the strategic changes in GBC in the past 2 years, the board chairman, Professor Samuel Debra, said his team will do its utmost within its allocated period to address concerns raised.
I intend, for example, to introduce as a standing item on the agenda maybe every 2 months. We can talk about the legal issues, and if need be, they can constitute a quick ad hoc committee to go into those issues. In terms of the LSA, that is one of our main albatross to the board. Again, we intend to bring forward some solutions that we think along the lines that you've already intimated.
The board says much will be done on the position of public service broadcasting, bearing in mind the shift in the media landscape as it supports GBC's role in nation building, education, and engendering national development. For GBC News, Shirley Annan reporting.
Roads Minister Mr. Kwesi Amoah-Akwata has pleaded with contractors on the Accra-Tema Beach Road to take swift action to ease the traffic congestion at the Nungua barrier to make that stretch more convenient for road users. The minister was on an inspection of progress of the project, including others, on Wednesday.
The interchange at the Nungua barrier is one of the projects under construction along the Accra-Tema Beach Road, which started in 2021. Member of Parliament for Tema West, Mr. Carlos Ahenkwa, was happy his constituency has benefited from quite a number of road projects. He was, however, not happy that contractors had abandoned a 10-kilometer road project at Ajay Kojo.
Right now, as we speak, my major worry or my major concern is Ajay Kojo. Ajay Kojo happens to be in my constituency. Fortunately for me, again, the Ministry of Roads has awarded about 10 or 11 kilometers in that area. We are not seeing too much action from the contractor. And as we speak, this contract was, I think, signed somewhere in 2018. But till date, not a single grain of tar has actually fallen on the roads.
The roads minister, Mr. Kwesi Amoah-Akwata, asked the contractor to help minimize the traffic situation at the barrier.
Where necessary, you have to create, alternative tours and, for people. I know it's within your professional capability. You know what I'm talking about. You are
professionals, you know better. You know, I'm only trying to remind you of these responsibilities. Okay, but generally, from what I hear and the reports I get from the engineers from my ministry working with you, government is happy about what is going on here.
Private buildings, fuel stations and others have halted the project, which was expected to be completed by November this year. Some 10 kilometers of roads from the Nungwa barrier towards Tema are yet to be completed. He gave those in charge of maintenance at the urban roads to maintain the abattoir bridge at Community 18 in a month. He also inspected some inner roads at Community 19, 20, Sakumono and Collins. These projects have minor challenges such as drain issues, potholes which stall movement, among others. He asked the engineers to fix them all.
The National Pensions Regulatory Authority, NPRA, has organized an outreach at Bolgatanga in the Upper East region to sensitize workers in both the formal and informal sectors on the three-tier pension scheme. It formed part of the NPRA's effort to give employers, employees, self-employed and the general public deeper understanding of the new pension scheme.
At separate centers in Navrongo and Bolgatanga, traders, mostly women, hairdressers, dressmakers and food vendors and workers in the informal sector were educated on the importance of a retirement plan and the benefits of becoming members of pension scheme. The zonal head of NPRA, Al-Hassan Husseini Yakubu, said workers in the informal sector, especially women, have shown the least interest in the three-tier pension scheme and encouraged them to sign on to other schemes regulated by the authority.
If you look at the population statistically, especially in the Petit region, mostly about 90% of them are women, and they don't contribute to any form of pension scheme. So we're looking at them as our target.
A pensions advisor, Madam Evangela Baisi, assured beneficiaries of the safety of their monies and encouraged the gathering to sign on to any of the schemes.
You hear people having a lot of reservations when it comes to contributing to pensions because of the fear from maybe experiences from other financial institutions running away with their money. But we are here to ensure them that when it comes to pensions, your monies are safe, your monies are secured. So where formal sector workers' funds are going, informal sector workers, whatever you contribute is going there.
The Opokuwari Senior High School in Kumasi now has a fully fitted, expanded sick bay to provide basic health care to more of the students and teaching staff. The project was financed by the 1978 year group at the cost of 225,000 Ghana cedis.
Prior to the handing over of the expanded sick bay to the school authorities, the school sick bay used to be a 2-ward facility. One of the wards was later handed over to the National Ambulance Service to serve the Nshiaiso constituency under the government's One Constituency, One Ambulance initiative. The situation compelled the 1978 year group to finance the expansion of the sick bay into a 3-ward facility. It is fitted with beds, drip stands and washrooms. The head of the 3-member nursing team manning the sick bay, Mr. Michael Kofiowusu, said they are compelled to send some of the sick students to health facilities outside the campus because of inadequate space.
As I speak, we still have logistical challenges. And because it is originally a school clinic, we don't have every logistic that we need to treat the students. So sometimes we have to refer some of the cases to bigger facilities. And with this extension, it will help us a great deal. You know, sometimes you can have food an outbreak that requires that many of the students will be trooping in here. And the extended ward will definitely be of good benefit to us.
A representative of the 1978 year group, Mr. Daniel Nanapoku, said the gesture is the group's contribution to its alma mater. The headmaster of the Opokuwari school, Reverend Stephen Owusu-Sechere said the expanded sick bay is a big relief to the school's growing student population. He appealed to the other year groups to help the school complete some stalled projects.
Children of the Osu Children's Home now have the opportunity to display their skills and unearth hidden talents as they play their hearts out. This follows the construction of a new modern playground financed by the Rotary Club of Accra West and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
The Rotary Club of Accra West and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints renovated the old children's playground and equipped it with new installations. A modern playground with a variety of installations, including seesaws, swings and slides, among others, were also constructed for the younger children. Both projects cost 73,000 Ghana cedis.
In 2006, the Rotary Club of Accra West partnered with another Rotary Club in UK, the Rotary Club of Bristol, to put together a playground for the Osu Children's Home. Over the course of time, it got run down, and we came and took a look at it a few years ago and decided that we needed to do something about it. So 4 years ago, we set out to refurbish the grounds. We started fundraising and we had some good donors. But then over the course of time, the project was, it was left alone. But last year, December, we decided to come and revisit it again and get it sorted out.
The church always belongs in the community, and we belong to the world as well. So wherever we are, the Lord Jesus Christ have taught us to feed the hungry and to provide clothing and shelter. So what we have done here is in the same vein. Seeing that there are children without parents, or even if they do have parents, their parents are not here and they need our support. And once we realize this through with the partners Rotary, we realize that this is something that the church can do to support these needy children, and that's why we embarked on this project.
The financiers say this is just a part of a well thought out plan to support the home on a sustainable basis.
73-year-old Elizabeth Ayoko, or known as Ayoko Otinkran, is reported missing. According to his son, Nia J. Sadat, his mother, Madame Elizabeth Ayoko, left home a few days ago and has not returned. Anyone with information about Madame Elizabeth Ayoko should contact Nia J. Sadat number 571/2 at Teshi Akotobu area on 025-624-9995 or report to the nearest police station. Still missing persons, the department is again looking for the families of one Madame Kunedu, who is in her late 60s. Madame Kunedu has been in the custody of the department since 3 days ago. She is believed to be traumatized and not willing to give out any information leading to a family. She only said she lives at Tesano in Accra and Amwana Praso as her hometown. The families are therefore advised to contact the Social Welfare Department, Okankwe South Sub-Metro of the AMA on 030-393-597 or 024-500-7148 for assistance. You're still watching News live on GBC News and GTV. We're taking a short break. We'll be back with the business segment. Please don't go away.
Good afternoon. Time now for the business segment, and I am Dorothy Ajmai. For the first time since 2011, the annual budget funding amounts ABFA has gone into paying a judgment debt of over 12 million Ghana cedis. This amount covers roads, rail and other infrastructure priority areas during the period under review. This came up as one of the findings in the 2021 annual report on management and use of petroleum revenues launched here in Accra. In compliance with provisions of the Petroleum Revenue Management Act 2011, the committee prepares statutory semi-annual and annual reports to keep Ghanaians and interested stakeholders regularly informed about the management and utilization of the country's petroleum revenues. Since it was established in 2011, the committee has published 21 reports, of which 10 are semi-annual and 11 annual reports. The report examines other issues related to the performance of various institutions charged with responsibilities in the PRMA. The 2021 annual report has a chapter with a detailed narrative on PIAC's activities, projected inspections and feedback from citizens during its year-long activities. From this report, total oil production from 2010 to 2021 is over 508 million barrels. Out of this number, in 2021, total production of all three oil fields is over 55 million barrels, with Jubilee recording 27,335,481, representing 50%. Sankofa Jinyame 15,735,846, also 28%, and 11,978,846, 22%. Total revenue accrued from 2011 to 2021 is $7.63 billion. Annual crude oil production declined by 17.7% from 66,926,806 million in 2020 to 55,050,391 million barrels. From 66,926,806 in 2020 to 55,050,391 million barrels, despite the rebound of activities. Total petroleum revenues increased by 17.5% from 666,390,751 in 2020 to 783,325,849 in 2021 due to higher crude oil prices. Surface rentals arrears increased by 22.22% from over 2,110,212.23 million cedis in 2020 to 2,579,170.21 in 2021. The report states that in 2021, GNPC could not realize its budgeted revenue from loans and guarantees amounting to $126.68 million. This is out of an accumulated total of $318.09 million owed the corporation by government and its agencies since 2011. The head of Payroll Processing Directorate, Control and Accountants General's Department, Mrs. Angela Piazza, urged PIAC to keep the relevance of its existence by being innovative. The chairman of PIAC, Professor Kwame Adom-Frimpong, said the 2021 annual report is an improvement on the previous years.
2021, the impact of COVID is a little, so we're expecting that it will go up. Unfortunately, the volume went down. But in spite of that, the revenue also went up in view of the increase in the crude oil price.
PIAC recommends that the Ministry of Finance must work with relevant institutions to develop appropriate guidelines for this purpose. Clarity to this, we have on the line the Vice Chairman of the Public Interest and Accountability Committee, PIAC, Mr. Nasser Alpha Mohammed. Good to have you join us, sir.
Hello.
Good to have you join us.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome, sir.
And good afternoon to you and your viewers.
Good afternoon. How did Ghana record an increase in revenue despite a decrease in production?
Okay, this one is principally due to significant increases in crude oil prices in the year 2021. If you check our report, you'd realize that the government projected a benchmark price of $54.75 per barrel for the year. However, the Ghana Group recorded an average price of $69.18 per barrel in all the three producing fields, that's Jubilee, TEN, and the LGN. So essentially, even though annual crude oil production declined by 17.7% in 2020, total petroleum revenues increased by 17.5% in the same year. So essentially, it is the significant increase in prices of crude oil in 2020 that accounted for this.
So is that the reason why we produced less as compared to the previous years?
Well, here we need to put the question in context. First, it is not the case that there was a decline in production of both crude oil and natural gas, because the report speaks to both crude and natural gas. So in terms of decline, we are only talking about crude oil, because while a decline of 17.7% was recorded in crude oil production for the year compared to 2020, gas production increased by 7.7% in the same year compared to 2020. However, production declined in 2021 due to technical challenges, and here I'm using production relative to crude oil. Especially on the TEN and the LGN cells. Production declined significantly due to technical challenges. And this led to emergency shutdowns and repair works on the field. So the Jubilee field has been producing oil for 11 years. And some experts and industry watchers are of the view that the field has peaked. Hence, the reason for the decline recorded in 2021. There may be ancillary reasons, of course, but these are some of the reasons that you can put in context.
So, NASA, on management of the petroleum funds, what accounted for the 14% increase to the fund despite withdrawals of over $114 million during the period?
Essentially, we can say it is because of the allocations to the fund on an annual basis from the Petroleum Holding Fund. You know, for the Ghana Stabilization Fund, it may be capped, and some monies may be seized off, you know, for our purposes. But it is important to realize that when we refer to the Ghana Petroleum Funds, we are referring to both the Ghana Stabilization Fund and the Ghana Heritage Fund. Now, since 2011, we have not been taking any money from the Ghana Heritage Fund for any purpose. Is really there and accumulating. So it is only in respect of the Ghana Stabilization Fund that you could talk about the withdrawals in terms of the over $140 million that we are talking about. So it is essentially, one important reason would be that it is because we don't touch the stabilization fund at all. And when we make this particular fund, it is not only in respect of the Ghana Stabilization Fund, but cumulatively with the Ghana Heritage Fund. And so even though we have these withdrawals from the Ghana Stabilization Fund, there was, you know, a 14% increase, you know, of the fund, despite all these withdrawals. Because when you go to the Ghana Heritage Fund side, there are no withdrawals at all.
Right, NASA.
So first, yeah.
Okay, I'm not cutting you, but in a brief, how would you say that our petroleum are managed prudently?
This is always a dicey question to answer. But from where I sit, I would say yes, but with some important concerns for all Ghanaians to consider, and of course, the duty bearers in particular. The allocation to GNPC, the annual budget funding amount, and the Ghana Petroleum Funds were done according to the requirements of the PRM. And all the recipients had their share of petroleum revenues during the year as mandated by the Petroleum Revenue Management Act.
Right. Thank you so much.
Utilization of the ABSA complied with the...
Thank you, Nasser, for your time. And that was Mr. Nasser Alpha Mohammed, the Vice Chairman of PIAC, discussing with us some findings in the 2021 annual report on management and use of petroleum revenues launched yesterday. In other news, sharply higher prices for staples and supply shortages are increasing pressure on households worldwide and pushing millions more into poverty. The threat is highest for the poorest countries with a large share of consumption from food imports. But vulnerability is increasing rapidly in Middle East countries which host the majority of the world's poor. World Bank estimates that for each 1 percentage point increase in food prices, 10 million people are thrown into extreme poverty worldwide.
Increase in the cost of natural gas, a key ingredient of nitrogenous fertilizer. Surging fertilizer prices along with significant cuts in global supplies have important implications for food production in most countries, including most producers and exporters who rely heavily on fertilizer imports. The increase in food prices and supply shocks can fuel social tensions in many of the affected countries, especially those that are already fragile or affected by conflict. The IMF, World Bank, and the World Food Programme are calling on the international community to urgently support vulnerable countries through coordinated actions ranging from provision of emergency food supplies, financial support, increased agricultural production, and open trade.
And that's it for the business segment. You have more news coming up. Please do stay.